Welcome, everyone. I'm Jeffrey Goodman, Director of Marketing and Development for the YMCA of Northwest Louisiana, and we're here at 318 Latino Studios for Shreveport-Bossier, my city, my community, my home. And this is going to be a super fascinating discussion today. Our guest is Chase Boytim. Chase?
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Me too. I appreciate it. Well, we're going to hop on in, Chase. So you are deeply entrenched in Shreveport restaurateur and bar owner history, having gotten your start with the Cush brothers.
Oh, yeah.
So let's start here today. Tell me about the Cushes, how you first got in with them, and some of the key things you learned through your time of working with them.
Oh, that's a great question. So, well, I'm gonna go back a little bit.
Yeah, please give us some history.
Yeah, so I mean, I had my son in high school. Immediately went to work for Kroger's in 1998, and worked for them for 4 years. I honestly, when I started there, I thought I was going to be there. I would work my way up to manager and whatever. And right around that time, they opened the Target, and I had all these people.
And are we Kroger's on Uri?
Okay. Yeah, and I had a lot of friends that had left and gone to Target. They were making considerably more money. And I had taken on all kinds of responsibility over there and kind of wasn't happy with my pay and was really kind of searching for a new profession. And, I kind of bounced around a couple of student jobs while in college. And I'll never forget. So this buddy of mine, Matt Welburn, was like, "You got to come work with me. I'm making all this money. I'm a bar back at the Village Grill in Busboy, and they need more help." And I'll just never forget. I mean, I had heard about the Village Grill, and all my friends were like, "Oh, it's the greatest place. There's no menu. All the cart's dark." And so I was like, "Well, that sounds like a cool opportunity." And I was really kind of curious at the time. I didn't know really, what I wanted to do with my life. I had changed my major a few times in college. And
are we in the 90s or are we in the early 2000s?
This is early 2000s, 2001 or 2.
Okay.
And interviewed with Joey. And
so Joey, for those of you that don't know, so it was Joe. So when I say Cush brothers, we're saying Joey and Brian. Is that
Joey and Brian, who mainly ran the Village, but previous to me coming on, they had Centenary Oyster House, City Grill in downtown. Joey's American Bar and Grill, which is where Wine Country was over in Piermont Mall, and and even more I can't think of right now, but they were the creme de la creme. They started many restaurant projects, and so I interviewed with Joey, and he pretty much hired me on the spot, and I loved it. I mean, it was like a family. We would on the weekends, on Sundays, we would, go to their lake house. And not too long after I started, Superior Steakhouse opened. And it kind of, when they first opened, it really put a pinch on the Village. They hired some of their staff, which is pretty normal. Everybody wants to go to the new place. And I feel like the staff that had left over were really the diehards, the people that just loved it. They loved Joey and Brian. And I was one of those. And I wore, as I've done in all the jobs I worked, I wore a lot of different hats. And Brian, through a friendship, started Fatty Arbuckles in late 2003. And I'll never forget, I guess there was a few capital calls, and right when they opened, and he wasn't really sure what was going on. And I vividly remember the conversation in the back in the Village. And Brian was asking Joey's opinion on it. And Joey was like, "Put Chase over there. We need to know what's going on, and Chase will let us know what's going on." And so I was kind of the mole, if you will. They put me over there, and they were like, "Look, you're going to bar back on these nights. You can bartend these nights. And, I want to know what's going on over there. Let me know what's happening." And I jumped at it. I thought it was the greatest thing. I was 20 at the time, so I wasn't even old enough to drink. And started over there, and And it just was like perfect for me. I loved it. I graduated at 17, so all my friends were 21. So instantly it was easy for me, even at 20, to be like, you guys come see me down here. Hired a lot of my friends. And, and when I got down there, we found a lot of discrepancies and problems. And so I wasn't even there maybe 6-8 months. And Brian was like, what if I made you the manager? And I was like, oh, that would be a dream. And soon I was in school at this time to be a school teacher, and soon I was making considerably more money than I was going to make at graduating. And so, a year after that, Brian, parted ways with one of his business partners and was like, I'd like for you to buy the partner out and be our partner. And he really sold it to me. And I was like, man, what an opportunity. And I went to my parents at the time and asked my dad's opinion. And my dad, it was the opposite of what I thought he would say. But he was like, you can't turn down this opportunity. You got to do it. And I was like, well, okay, that's great. But I think I got $1,200 in my bank account. How are we going to do this? And, he offered to help me. And there were like major stipulations. I had to move back in with him, and I effectively like emptied the tip jar into his hand every night until I paid him back. And I was able to, and kind of the time was really unique too. So I bought in 2005, and it was right around the time that all those movies had come in, and Katrina had just happened. And there was a period of time after that where just like, I felt like downtown Shreveport, everything was just on just like a sky high trajectory. So I bought in at like a great time, not knowing as well too. And effectively I paid them back in 4 months. That very next year we worked on a different project, which was 211 Martini Lounge, which was on Texas Street, the old city grill that they had. It was their property. And a few months after that, we started on Fat Cats. And at one time, a year or two later, we were pretty much like, we had a corner of the bar industry here, and there's just some great years. We had a great time.
And at this point, it's still Joey, Brian, and you?
Different partners. So Brian and I were partners at 211, which later became The Boot, which was actually the same company. We just, we had some more competition after a couple of years, and we decided to change it and change concepts. Same company, just kind of changed the DBA. And myself, Joey, and Brian started Fat Cats, and I parted ways with them kind of at the beginning, but was really helped them at the beginning to get it started. And then Brian and I had Fatty Arbuckles. So all of us in some sort of way. And then over the next few years, I bought Bears, and Joey, Brian, and their brother Greg started Chicky's Boom Boom Room, and I opened a place called Aura. And so for like the next basically 20 years, we were doing stuff. And
so tell me a few, because we're going to get into some other specifics around Fatty's, but tell me just as you look back, because I will mention, unfortunately, neither Joey nor Brian is with us any longer. Yeah. So just
and Greg, for that matter, too.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
As you look back at your incredible mentorship, or the incredible mentorship they offered and provided to you, tell me some of the things that kind of you think about that they taught you or left you with.
Oh, my goodness. There's a number of things. One, they were basically like, you ever see the John Taffer for John Taffer with Bar Rescue? They were like that. They knew every trick. And when I first started, all the young people that worked there really pushed back on all the ideas of like, hey, you've got to put the bottles right here. We're going to do the checkout sheet like this every night. But it worked. And it was because of their experience in all those other places that it worked out. And then for me, just nostalgia. My son, we would get there early and sweep the floors, and Brian had a relationship with my son and myself, and all the good times. When we went to open Fat Cats, we all took a big trip to Dallas, and went to the Ghost Bar, and we had all these great ideas about 211. And I mean, I consider them part of my family. I mean, Brian and I, we went on vacations. One year we had such a great year, we took everybody on a ski trip to Breckenridge. And I mean, I think about that all the time. And I think about a lot of the great advice he gave me. And I mean, he treated me like a brother. And it almost feels like, it feels like yesterday. It doesn't feel like it's been that long ago. And I certainly miss him, miss both of those guys. Both passed away tragically from cancer. But I still talk to their family, their sisters, and their brother-in-law, who's a great guy, attorney in town, Rick John, he's such a great guy. And he helped us. He would do all of our legal work, whether it be the setting up the LLCs or whatever. And I see him randomly all the time, but I miss that. I miss really the camaraderie. Brian and I, who we were mainly partners in all of our projects, we were such a great partnership because it was, he was like the more conservative person, and I was this like dreamer. I wanted to do every concert, every wild party, and we'd have these conversations, and he loved it. He wanted us to, but it would be funny, we'd have these conversations like, we're going to do this big concert on New Year's Eve, and we're going to, do all this stuff, and he'd be like, man, this sounds great, but how are we going to pay for this? You know what I mean? Like, this sounds great and all. So it was just that awesome partnership because I was that dreamer, and he would bring me back down to earth, but he let me take those chances so many times. And we had some great times. I mean, in those early years, we did a bunch of movie parties. We did a bunch of concerts, and we kept doing it. I mean, I still do it. I did Bourbon and Barbecue a couple of years ago down at Fatty Arbuckle's, but even 2011, we did this big Citizen Cope, and Brian helped invest in that. And so it was such a great partnership. I miss that a little bit because now it's just me. And but it's funny. I find myself now I'm the conservative one. I got a buddy that's like, man, we should do this. And I'm like, no, thanks, man. I've done it. I'm tired. So it's funny how times have changed, but I do miss that. I really just miss having them around, and having that partnership and friendship.
Well, such a key part of restaurant and bar lore here, and you're one of the people that can carry that forward and speak to that probably about as well as anyone.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so you kind of hinted at this, but you're celebrating your 20th year of being at Fatty Arbuckle's. If I'm not mistaken, the sole remaining original Red River District business. So my next question's just simply, what keeps you, Chase Boytim, committed to downtown?
Wow. Well, right now, what really honestly keeps me committed to downtown is the fact that I'm there. And, I think all downtowns have had a struggle after COVID, and it's certainly been a struggle for us. That area is in a bit of decline. I mean, we've lost Nicky's, and there's a lot of big plans and big ideas, but right now they're just ideas. But we're lucky we've had this just incredible devout following where we've been able to sustain. And, a few years before COVID, we started with catering, and that's really taken off. We've done literally no advertising with it. And it's just taken off and really helped supplement our business and keep it going. And really the catering we do also brings a lot of people into our business. But I love downtown, but I think, I'd like to see some things change. I mean, there's a lot of, potential with like this 50 cent thing and a lot of other potential products, or ideas, but it's going to take some time. And I don't know, I wish we were further along than what we are. We're kind of going through a transition, I think. But I'm confident that we're going to still be there. And, something we've done recently is we have started helping the Strand with all their concerts, and we helped them with their beverage program. We helped hire the bartenders, and we're now doing some of our cocktails and whatnot at the Strand. And I see that end of downtown. I would just feel like we need to kind of bridge that. I have a lot of hope for the Red River District where we're at. And we'll just have to see. I mean, we're still there, and right now we're doing this Christmas deal, this Christmas pop-up, and it's been phenomenal for our business. But I will say I want to see more of an effort to build the base of our city in downtown. When I started down here, it was such a great thing. Like, you could bounce around. There was enough businesses. It was like pretty much the only walkable area where if like you would start with us, and most of our customers we would get, they were just walking off the casino looking for the next thing. We need that back big time, and we don't have it. So I really hope that we can get there. I mean, it's going to take some investment on the city side, I think, and not just the city side, private investors, people like Curtis Jackson and other people, but right now there's a lot to be desired where we're at.
Well, I commend you for holding down the fort.
I appreciate it.
Seriously.
I appreciate it.
So now I've got some kind of I need you to school me a little bit. So I should know the things I'm about to ask you, but I don't. So first question, I want to know, what are the rules today in the following categories? So my first question is, can you smoke in a bar in Shreveport?
No. You cannot. I'm maybe the only bar owner you'll talk to that's happy about that, though. I don't smoke. I was happy about it. When I owned Bears, we were the first bar that on our own just said we're not going to do smoking. I think we paid a little price for that, honestly, being the one standout. But yeah, you cannot, and I'm happy about it.
And you can't smoke in the casinos either. Is that correct?
I think that they've since changed that.
Okay.
You can. You can smoke in the casinos. And I understand why you can. I felt like, I think in the Shreveport side, they felt like they couldn't compete, and maybe they couldn't. And I get that. But for me, I'm glad. And I can't even imagine, like, it feels like a lifetime ago when we could smoke in Fatty Arbuckle. So,
all right. So my next question is, how old do you need? It's twofold. How old do you need to be to get into a bar, and then how old do you need to be able to order a drink at a bar?
So both in the city of Shreveport, 21.
Okay.
You got for both.
I'm clearly dating myself, so right. I should know everything I'm asking you right now. But
when I owned Bears, I pushed to move to 18. And I do think we should be 18. But believe it or not, we're one of the only major cities that doesn't have 18 and up. And
to get into a bar,
just to get in,
not to order.
When I owned Bears, I was really kind of toying with the idea of talking to different politicians and trying to move it to 18. When you go to Baton Rouge, like Tiger Town, it's 18 and up. Varsity Theater for concerts. Well, Bears, we were doing concerts every Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And I was looking for ways to afford these more expensive bands and have them in Bears. When it was just 21 and up, it was difficult to compete, to get those artists, because we might sell out a show if it was 18 and up, and a lot of 21-year-olds have 19-year-old girlfriends and that sort of thing. And so, and I think it makes us less competitive for, like, if someone's deciding to go to school, they're going to go to Ruston because they can get into the Doghouse or Rabs or whatever. I don't think that's around, but I'm maybe aging myself. But literally Monroe, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, they're all 18 and up.
18 to get in, still 21 to drink.
Still 21 to drink.
Okay.
And so I was pushing for it. Now I'm out of that now. Our age at Fatty's is, my age, 40 and up, But at the time, and I'd be a hypocrite if I said I didn't still think it would be beneficial to Shreveport. I mean, if you looked at the college admit or attendance for Centenary and LSU, it's just every year down, except for maybe LSUS with like online. But the reason why is we can't compete with Ruston and other areas that have that option. I'll give you an example. A bunch of years ago when Kelly Wells was at the Sports Commission, he hollered at me because I would often like sponsor things of theirs, and they were doing this big collegiate wakeboarding, and it was all right here on the river. And he was like, "Oh, it'd be great. We'll walk over to Fatty's afterwards." So of course I obliged. I said, "Yeah, I'll do it." And they marched over there. I was not able to let any of them in, and it was the biggest disaster. They left just thinking Shreveport was lame. It was like, what are you going to do? And honestly, right now we're lucky in Bossier with what they have with their downtown area and the East
What are
Bank.
their rules?
Their rules are 18 and up because they're restaurants, and so now we do have that option. But at the time, I was just like, man, I didn't even feel bad for me because I was just following the rules. But it really was. It was a little bit of an embarrassment to not knowing that we would have to turn these folks away, and they probably left going, man, what a lame city. And I never want. I mean, that stinks.
Yeah.
So it's a good question. I mean, I still think it would help us. I mean, I think I've
actually never heard that perspective. It's really good for me to hear.
And I mean, I think too often, and it's kind of because we're in the Bible Belt, and I get it, but too often people think bar and just think, bad. Everybody's wasted. And it's just not the case. People I know have met their wife at Center Oyster House or at a bar in New Orleans or whatever. It's just not the case. It's a place where people can socialize and
connect
and sure,
build community.
Absolutely. And there are exceptions. There are ones, but I feel like on a case-to-case basis, you have to punish the people who are not following the rules and not have this kind of shotgun approach. And, I just think that's a bad idea, really.
All right, educate me on one other little point. So at one point, if I'm not mistaken, the Red River District allowed for open container. So my final question like this is, does it still?
It does, but there's, all they've done is more or less pass it right now. So they just recently passed it. Actually, Gary Brooks passed the open container down there, and we've been able to benefit from it a few times.
Which means I can go order a drink at Fatty's. I can leave Fatty's. I can walk downtown with my drink.
So sadly, no. It's just in our area in the Red River District.
But I can go to Fatty's, buy a drink, leave Fatty's, hang out in the Red River District outside. Absolutely,
in the common area, which we were able to do anyways because we would do special events and you could get a permit to do so. But the idea behind it, and luckily, Gary Brooks, he owns the Cub and used to own Fuds. He knows about this. Like, we're looking for ways to be more competitive again in the River District. We're looking for ways to rebuild that area. And how do we do it? Step one is to go back to what was working, I think. And we can learn from the mistakes we made when we did have open container. Like, namely, the real problems we had is that it was all over downtown. And there was very few rules. And most of the issues that happened were, there would be drinking in the parking lots, people who are not being wanted or whatever in the clubs. And then that's where the problems would happen. And so really, and this is when I started, there were ideas to mitigate this. And like what they did is they had this special cup that you had to buy through the DDA. But people got around that. They would buy one drink or they would save a cup, leave it in their car. And so then they narrowed the area and they did cover charges and all that type of stuff. But I think having the small area where it's not all over downtown, you're not walking on the streets, is a good idea. I mean, they're doing it in Bossier in a larger area, and it's working great for them.
Is East Bank District open container?
It is. It's open container, and it's working out great for them. But I think this is step one. I would like to see step 2 and 3 happen faster. But I can't complain too much because really...
And step 2 and 3, just to clarify, are what for you?
Well, I mean, if it were me... Now, I haven't talked to them about this. I mean, I think that there's going to have to be an investment on the city side, because here's the thing. Right now, we've let it go so far in the other direction that, the argument I make to my landlord and to the city when we talk about the river district is that we let it go so far the other direction that no legitimate like business would say, yeah, let me go to this area. And most people when they start a business, they're not looking to change a whole area. So you got to, like, the city as owners have to have a plan on their end, and they've got to revitalize it and then come with an entertainment plan, and that's how it's going to attract investors because they see your vision. And right now their plan is they're like looking for someone with a vision and to do all the work. And it's just too hard for one person. I mean, even I even have my worries about if the big plan is like if 50 Cent were to do it, and that's great. I would love for that to happen, but it's a big job, and you're going to need the help of the city. And so I think that should be step 2 is like put some money in the area, and then you're going to have to program it. But another problem with that is that we're kind of competing for funds in the Red River District. The Red River District almost feels like a failed project from 2007 or something. Right now, you have the Riverview area, you have the Common, you have things that happen at Festival Plaza, and so it's going to take somebody to be like, okay, this area, we need to improve this area. This is the plan for it. This is what we should do. And, I want to make this my, push to actually do that. I mean, I've said this at city council meetings and other people that I've talked to is I just think logistically it even makes better sense than Bossier because we're right next to 2 casinos. We're right next to several big hotels where you have that walkability that I don't think you do in Bossier and other areas. And, the thing is, the River District is not that big. It's like 7 or 8 buildings. So you start there and then you can grow out from there. So it's not an impossible task. But it's gonna take somebody with a vision. It can't be just it can't be ancillary. It can't be, we're going to do this at the same time while we're doing these 10 other things. There's got to be a real vision and a plan for that particular area.
So let me get your opinion on something else. During my travels, I've been to a number of cities where a body of water runs through the city center. Most, if not all, these cities have a pedestrian bridge that easily connects the 2 sides. My question for you is, do you think a pedestrian bridge connecting downtown Shreveport and Bossier would make a major impact?
Oh, yes. 100%. That would be awesome. At one time, I don't know how serious this was, but they toyed with the idea of a gondola. This is when the boardwalk was really going well, and we had more tenants than we had now. At the time, I think we had, of course, Nicky's and the Cohab. Even at that time, I think we had Wet Willie's still, and they toyed with the idea, and I thought it would have been a phenomenal idea because that was right around the time they had just opened Buffalo Wild Wings over there. They had a lot of other businesses over there. I think it would be great. Whether or not we could ever do that, a pedestrian bridge would be even better. Because it's kind of like a sightseeing thing. You can go out on the bridge, you can see both, you can see
it's beautiful at night.
It's beautiful, it's gorgeous. I think it's a phenomenal idea. And we really need to bridge that gap. Like, I don't want to be successful in spite of Bossier's success. We both need to be successful. You know?
I mean, I'm hearing you say, I'm listening to you say, I think, the Shreveport side's better because it's more walkable. I'd love to see this, just me talking. I'd love to see people say they're both great. Like, let's figure out a way to make them even better together.
100%. It's not that I'm sorry. It's not that I think.
No. I mean, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Not that I think we're necessarily better. I just think logistically it makes so much sense to have an entertainment district where you can just come out of your hotel room and walk. And people don't realize how often those hotel rooms are used. I mean, I get people in our business from all over. I mean, recently Germany coming in for what's the deal at the port? But the German company,
Bentler Steel.
I mean, recently I've had some Australian people. I mean, we get people you would never guess that come to little old Shreveport all the time. And they come here and their opinion is like, wow, there's all this blight. What is going on? And I have to give them the whole 20-year, more or less story. Like, oh, well, things were going in the right direction, and then this happened, and then COVID happened. And and that's kind of more or less what I was talking about. It's just that you have those, it's so close to those hotels, and a lot of people utilize the 2 casino hotels there too. And those are right across the street. So I just think logistically it makes so much sense.
The bones are there.
The bones are there. And then people talk about, potential, safety issues. But here's the problem. What helps safety? People. The thing is, if you have these empty streets, there's more fear, even if it's, not logical. You're going to have that fear. And so what we need to do is more businesses, more people. You're going to have less of those problems. And so I think that should be the vision, really, is to get that back going and get Commerce Street from end to end going, and then grow from there, grow out through Texas Street all the way to like Rhino and the rest of that. And then next thing you know, because we have some exciting, the state building, really soon there's going to be more foot traffic. But I'm just tired of saying really soon. I'm ready for it to be tomorrow. So,
Well, I'm with you 100%. And I think it's so important, and I hope soon is soon.
Right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So I've heard you talk about how we need to bring our city into this century. Talk to me some about this, if you could. What would an ideal 21st century Shreveport-Bossier have that it currently lacks?
Wow. Oh, man. Let's see how many people get upset. Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff I was talking about, like, just one example is like the 18 and up. I mean, talking about bringing us into this century, I mean, little things like, LED lighting and smart, lights as far as the street lights and stuff like that is something that I'm just like, man, I wish we were a little closer to that. But it always seems like, and it's not just Shreveport, it's always towns our size. We're just a few years behind, and especially in entertainment. And, we were probably one of the last places to get a brewery. I started Fatty's long ago, and about 8 years ago, I switched to the whiskey bar. At the time, we didn't have a whiskey bar. And you go to other places and they've got speakeasies and they've got all these, they're up to date with the current trends. And it always seems like we're 5 to 10 years behind.
And when I hear you say this, I mean, what I'm thinking in my head, I'm going, we all, well, I won't say we all, but most people recognize that we have a problem of retaining our young people. And
100%.
I mean, the things you're talking about are the things that, just like you talking about, do I stay here? Do I go to Ruston, or do I go to Monroe? I mean, these are factors in those decisions.
100%. I mean, you have a young family, and they're choosing between Shreveport and Lafayette. Lafayette has this very, very vibrant downtown area that they do, Festival International. They do all this, regular programming down there. They have amazing restaurants. They have, a lot of culture. And then and that's just one example. I mean, Little Rock, the same. I mean, they had Little Rock. I went to Little Rock and I was like, I cannot believe they have this downtown. They have a trolley through downtown. They do have a pedestrian bridge over there that's for biking and walking. And recently I went to Bentonville, Arkansas, and I was like, now they have a few billionaires, so that certainly helps. But I was like, this place is unbelievable. And I get it. I think here too, when it comes to investing those type of things, you say, a lot of the public is like, well, why are we investing on into these things when we need to fix the pothole in my street? And I get that. But like you were saying, I mean, I could not agree with you more. I mean, we need this to attract young people to stay here, build their families here. I mean, I'm hearing rumors of different companies they're having trouble, Amazon and others bringing people here. Next to my house is an Airbnb. It's full of people working at Amazon. It's sad. I mean, I wish we need to be able to bring those people back. And going back to when I was saying, when I started at Fatty's, I saw such a large group of young people moving back here because of that movie industry. Now, who's to say if that ever will happen again? But there are other opportunities and other jobs, and we have to make Shreveport attractive to those people. And so one of those ways, I mean, a lot of this has to be done on the private end, but we have to make it easier for people like myself and others to open these businesses and create a pathway for, fast entrepreneurship that I'm hearing a lot of talk about. So I'm really optimistic about that. And I think if we keep having these small wins, whether it be the studio with Curtis Jackson or, Amazon opening, and it's just like every other day you're hearing something else. I just think those will all accumulate soon to hopefully bring back that. But it happened so fast for us. I mean, overnight when I started Fatty's, we kind of did some catering for some of those movie companies and stuff, and people would just go out because they'd be like,
who am I going to see?
Yeah, last week, Ashton Kutcher was at Fatty's for Rebirth Brass Band. Maybe they'll be there this week, and people would be going to Superior Steakhouse. And so even the people that lived here were like going out more, like trying to see what was going on around town. It was such an awesome time. I know you remember. You did a movie.
I did.
I remember we did the party at Stir years ago. And it's such a cool time. I'd like to see that happen, and it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be baby steps, but I do think it's important to as citizens of Shreveport to say, like, okay, this is as important as all the other things. Like, we need to have a place where people are proud to be, where they want,
where they have the quality of life that they seek. And that is available to them.
And 100%. And not just, not just bars and restaurants. I mean, outdoor activities, runs, biking. I was talking about Bentonville. They paved 40 miles worth of these outdoor bike trails. And you go there and it's just the most awesome thing you ever heard. And now they have tourism just for this bike stuff. And that's why I went there. I actually went there for a race. And I mean, so on all different levels, I think you can invest in Shreveport where you can attract that young crowd to come back here. And then you have more young professionals and we increase our tax base, and then we're going to have so much more opportunity to do, to fix all these problems that we have. So,
and you get that intellectual horsepower too, and
100%.
Well, Chase, those are my formal questions today. As I told you, I'm gonna come back to you and see if there are other things you want to talk about. We have all the time in the world, and I know there's one thing in particular, yes, but anything else too. But totally your time.
Well, two things.
Please.
One, I want to follow up on kind of what we were saying, like. I don't want to seem like a pessimist. I'm very optimistic about Shreveport. So I have ideas, and I think other people do too. And like everything, things happen in small waves. And I mean, so even though I've been critical of some ideas, like I think we're heading the right direction. I just think it's going to be baby steps, and nothing happens overnight.
I will say, like, I don't take you in as a pessimist.
No, definitely not.
And anyone who is still standing in the Red River District 20 years later, I mean, the last adjective you could ever use for that person is pessimistic or pessimist. So
well, I appreciate it.
I just want to clarify that.
Thank you.
How about heroic or pioneering,
man,
or inspiring?
Thank you so much. Well, I appreciate it. But I mean, I'm still inspired by this area. I love it. I mean, my whole family lives here. I'm very happy to be here. I'm growing a family here. I'm about to have a child in 2 months. So
congratulations.
Yeah, 25 years apart. Pretty wild with my wife. And So, yeah, I mean, and the other thing I want to talk to you
Please.
about is I'm actually raising money for American Liver Foundation. And I got a chance to run Boston Marathon. And I started marathon running when I was 39, so like 3 years ago. I kind of let myself go. I was overweight, drinking beer and that sort of thing. And, you know, my doctor was like, man, you gotta lose some weight. And so I started, and now it's like a new obsession, and it's easy to get really, to just go down the rabbit hole. And my grandfather was a big runner. He ran over 300 marathons and 37 Houston marathons in a row. And so 2 years ago, or almost 3 in January, I signed up for the Houston Marathon. And I was like, if I pay $200 for this is the only way I'm going to hold myself accountable and do the training and do it. And I was almost shocked that I was able to do it. 3 months trained for the marathon, ran it. And since then I've done 13.
It's awesome.
And signed up to do the Boston Marathon thinking it was a long shot, maybe 1,000,000 to 1 or something. And they emailed me back and said I got it, charity spot to raise money. And but several people that I've known have struggled with liver disease. And so I wrote ALF, American Liver Foundation, which they raise money to help people find livers with liver cancer, cirrhosis, hepatitis C. And I wrote them and told my story, which I had fatty liver disease at the time that my doctor asked me to lose weight, which something like 40% of Americans have. And I've since been able to, correct that with myself by losing 40 pounds. But I lost a good friend of mine, Gordon, who worked for me at the bar, from liver cancer, and even Joey we lost from liver cancer.
Joey Cush.
And I know several others who've died. I mean, millions of people are dying from liver cancer.
So this is a active fundraiser right now. The race is when?
The race is April 21st, Monday.
2025.
2025.
And so for people listening who want to participate in this, what's the best way to?
Fatty Arbuckles or my personal Chase Boytim, my personal page. I have a link for on Facebook. I have a link to donate, and it was great. I was already really motivated to raise money and do this. It's a dream of mine. I'd like to do all of the major marathons, but we had this about a week or two ago. We had this Zoom where we were able to talk to patients that they helped. And I mean, I was brought to tears. Sure. I was like, this is incredible. And whatever was motivating me to do it, I was like further motivated. And I think I raised $3,000 that day. I was so excited. But I mean, there were such great stories where, I always thought that if you needed a liver, that someone basically had to pass away for you to get it. And that's not the case now. They're able to take a piece of your liver. And there was several people that ran this race where they were the person that needed the liver and the donor. They ran it together. We got to hear their stories. And a lot of people that have run it every year, the Boston Marathon, and others raising it for ALF. So for me to be part of that alumni is just going to be like such an honor. I mean, and so any chance I get, I'm raising money through my business, and I've been doing a percentage of sales, and I'm doing a bunch of little pop-ups, and I've had so many generous donors thus far. I've raised 60% of what I need to raise in less than a month for April, in less than a month. So it's gone really well, but I'm motivated now. I'd like to outraise everybody else. So it's not just what I need to raise. I want to raise as much money because their mission is such a great mission, and I feel honored to be able to run in their behalf. And beyond that too, it's an honor to be able to run, the oldest marathon in the United States. And
this will be your first Boston.
This is my first Boston, and I've been riding high. I mean, since I got accepted, having the baby, I've just like life is good, and but I wanted to mention that, and hopefully
absolutely
be able to raise a bunch of money for them. And I know we are going to. So Bob Bob Timms is helping me throw a little event in a couple months, and my friend from the village is helping me, who was the chef at the village, is going to help me in the new year. Ronaldo, we're going to do a little tribute to the village and do a village night. We're going to do all the food, and I'm going to do some of the cocktails, make some tableside martinis and stuff, and some snow bears and fun stuff. So we're going to get there. But like now, my new mission is I want to outraise everyone else. I want us to really make an impact and raise as much money as we can. So I appreciate you giving me that opportunity as well. Of course. I really do. So,
well, you're making a massive impact, period, and have for a long time. So
man,
appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I've enjoyed this.
Me too.
Thank you.
Anything else, or you're?
I just really appreciate you having me, and come support my business. And I've been there 20 years. I would love to have this conversation in 20 years from now and just say, here we are still. We're still doing it.
Still doing it, and we're in step 10 now of the master plan.
That's right.
We've made massive headway.
Yeah, I make it sound so easy, don't I? But yeah, I would love that. At this point now, it's like not even, me being at that business. It's like it's part of me. I mean, I love it. I mean, I want to be there as long as I possibly can. I mean, it's so funny. I've joked around with my son. I was like, no matter what happens to me, Fatty's must live on. It must survive even past me. So he's giving me the thumbs up on that. So it's fine. But yeah, I appreciate it. But yeah, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course.